heart of Africa. Rainforests on one side, endless plains on the other. A country of contradictions, with peace on one hand and breathtaking adventures on the other. Remarkable Rwanda, the land of 1,000 hills. A paradise in the midst of Africa, with its volcanoes, lakes, rivers, and savannas, which shape both the nature and the social life. Having escaped the terrible ghosts of the past and redressed its wounds, Rwanda has long been a peaceful and safe country. This dynamic country, the fastest developing of Africa, is a center of attraction thanks to its investments in both the nature and its people. Despite being one of the smallest countries of the Black Continent, Rwanda boasts a unique nature and hosts numerous species. With its globally significant diverse habitats, Rwanda is an attractive destination for ecotourism. Among the most magnificent of these routes is Nyungwe, believed to be the most ancient tropical forest in the world. The Nyungwe rainforest owes its rich biodiversity today to the fact that it remained green and viable even throughout the Ice Age. As the massive trees that soar into the skies find the chance to reach the sun, intense rain and moisture facilitates life on the forest ground, which remains in the shade. Apart from the blossoming trees and the flowers on the ground, the favorites of birds, the forest boasts scores of shades of green due to the various species of algae, fungus, and lichen that shroud the trunks of the trees. The deserted facade of this ancient forest, however, may be deceptive.
Nyungwe is one of the biggest mountain tropical rainforests located in the southwestern part of Rwanda, rich in biodiversity, fauna and flora, with 13 species of primates. including chimpanzees.
Chimpanzees inhabiting the dense vegetation of Nyungwe comprise social groups where different families come together. Male adults of the family that take the lead in the search for food in their territory are followed by females. Their target is ripe fruit. This fig tree is a massive hit among the chimps. Family members spread across a wide territory make this much noise to make themselves heard to one another. At close distances, they communicate through physical contact and gestures, just like humans. Chimpanzees are under constant surveillance within the framework of natural conservation efforts.
So Nyungwe has not only chimpanzees but the colobus monkeys, and we have the biggest group of colobus monkeys that ever existed in the world. 500 monkeys going together in one group.
These primates with long fur and long tails are among the most prevalent species of the equatorial forests. Nevertheless, such a crowded group is quite out of the ordinary. This colony, living in the dense forests of Nyungwe, is one of the biggest primate groups, not only in Rwanda, but across the entire planet. The primary distinction between the colobus and the other apes is its lack of thumbs. But that does not stop them from making acrobatic moves from one branch to another. From fruits to leaves, these colobus feed on a wide array of food sources, making the best of what the forest has to offer. Life goes on mostly on treetops in Nyungwe, in the topmost boundary of the forest.
And the activity we are going to do today, it's a canopy walkway, and it's a new activity and started in 2010, launched officially in October.
The canopy is the top layer of the forest, hosting the majority of the plant, insect, and bird species. It is, in other words, the roof of the forest. The only way to observe many species that you normally would not be able to see is high hanging bridges set up specifically for this task. Just like these bridges in Nyungwe that are 70 meters in height and 200 meters in length. The thunder in your heart for being so many meters off the ground is matched with the sounds of birds and apes that soar into the skies of the boundless rainforest. This is where the feelings of peace and thrill mingle together. Nyungwe is not only renowned for its tropical forest and wildlife. Rwanda is one of the top tea producers of the world, and the fields surrounding Nyungwe take the lead on that front. The fact that most of the nation's territory is located in high altitudes enables high-quality tea production. Add on top of that advantage the fertile soil nurtured by volcanic ash and regular rainfall, and you have the world-famous Rwandan tea. Most of the tea produced, owing to these favorable conditions, is exported to many countries around the world. A majority of the Rwandan people rely on agriculture for a living. Tea cultivation and collection is one of the major sources of livelihood within that sphere. Many Rwandans, young and old, toil in these tea fields spread out from the north to the south. The Nyungwe National Park is home to several ecosystems, composed of wide meadows and marshes. Heavy rain has transformed the flat plains among these mountains to marshlands that host more than 100 orchid species, 8 of which are endemic. Apart from being home to rare flower species, this area is a critical reservoir for water. 70% of Rwanda's water requirement is met out of this area. The water that the marshland cannot accommodate finds a route for itself and dives down. Waterfalls are among the hidden treasures of Nyungwe, some of which are accessible via trekking routes. It is not a coincidence that some springs feeding the Nile, one of the longest rivers of the world, originate from these wet areas. The water flowing through the waterfalls meets the rivers and reaches the magnificent Lake Kivu. Kivu is one of the largest lakes of Africa. Spread across an area of 2,700 square kilometers, the lake has inner beaches that compete in beauty.
Ikintu cyiza cyo kuri Paradis Marahidi ni ahantu hari umuco w'ikinyarwanda. Urabona barira ku mbehe, ibintu byose mwabonye ni ikinyarwanda, barira ku mbehe, ibyaho byose ni ibinyarwanda, na ninjoro bataramira abanyarwanda n'abanyamahanga. Akarwa nako niho abantu bagenda bakajya kuruhukira ku byiza nyaburanga. Urabona iyo umuntu ananiwe akambuka amazi ajya ku karwa akaruhukira, bahakorera iminsi mikuru. Mbega ni akarwa keza kanejeje amaso kandi gateje igihugu u Rwanda, gateje u Rwanda ishema rwose. Ku bintu byose dukora ni byiza ku Rwanda, tugomba guhesha agaciro kacu u Rwanda kuko u Rwanda rwacu ni rwiza cyane.
The facilities on the lakeside offer a peaceful environment, as well as their hygienic, friendly, and high-quality service. The gardens of the environmentally friendly facilities are centers of attraction not just for visitors, but also for wild animals. These weavers have chosen a tree by the lake as their home. The nest, woven meticulously by the male weaver, will contribute to the continuity of the species only if he can get the female to appreciate its beauty. People in search of some tranquility may relax on the shore as birds sing around. Meanwhile, visitors in need of action can kayak in the lake to visit nearby coves. Visitors rowing on the serene waters of Kivu, accompanied by a guide, have access to well-being at the thermal waters by the lake. These mineral-rich volcanic sources of hot water offer cure for numerous maladies, including rheumatism. Apart from its natural beauty, Lake Kivu, the primary source of fresh water of the region, also provides the nutritional requirements of the residents. The isimbaza originating in this lake make their way to the market stalls in capital Kigali. The abundance of this fish species has led to the development of an unusual fishing technique. The fishing boats on Kivu are made of wood and have 3 holes, connected to one another like a catamaran. At the end of each hole is a mechanism that allows one to pucker the nets tossed into the lake via reels. Fishermen fishing amongst songs and rhythm slowly gather the nets that they have tossed around the boat. As the nets are puckered, they create ponds among the holes of the boat, imprisoning the fish that find no way to escape. At the end of a successful expedition, the fishermen return to the shore with the joy and pride of the prospect to feed their families. Lake Kivu also hosts numerous tiny islands that are worth a visit. Most islands are uninhabited. However, one that seems to be deserted at first sight, in fact, is home to hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. The Napoleon Island. The island, named after its resemblance to Napoleon's bicorn hat, has steep cliffs and a dense vegetation. Within that vegetation, one species is especially valuable due to the fruit it bears year-round. the guava tree. This tree, with its nutritious fruit, has almost fully coated the southern cliffs of the Napoleon Island. As the island hosts no natural predators, but offers instead loads and loads of food, the number of the giant fruit bats, one of the biggest bat species in the world, amounts to hundreds of thousands. The deafening cacophony ignored, the precision of the bats flying all at once without contacting one another or the trees is indeed marvelous. Not all species on this terrain are as lucky as the bats. The Volcanoes National Park in Rwanda is one of the last shelters for the mountain gorillas, whose population has dropped to 850 members on the planet. Mountain gorillas, whose population has now risen thanks to conservation measures, are darlings of not just Rwanda, but the entire world. Apart from the successful conservation programs carried out by the Rwandan government-backed civil society groups also maintain their relevant projects wholeheartedly. The oldest of these bears the name of Dian Fossey, the scientist who made mountain gorillas world famous. The Karasok Research Station, set up by Dian Fossey in 1967 between the Karasimbi and Bisok Mountains, was relocated to the city center long ago. What has remained of the station and the research notes of Dian Fossey are on display here. The station, still actively in use, carries out gorilla research on the one hand and maintains awareness raising and nature protection efforts on the other.
So every gorilla has a different sign on their nose, and when you start working with the gorillas, the first step of your career in the gorillology is to memorize all the noses of all the gorillas that then you have to study. So in the head,
Dian Fossey, who passed away in 1985, shares the same graveyard on the skirts of Mount Virunga with her beloved gorillas, the protagonists of her research, those hunted down by poachers and those that died a natural death alike.
We are going to see mountain gorillas today, and the mountain gorillas are going to see they are only found in this region. So this chain of mountains, it forms what called the Virunga Massif.
Intore dancers with their traditional dance greet the visitors of the National Park Center who are here to see the gorillas. The dance was performed centuries ago as Rwandans prepared to go to war in order to demonstrate their power, might, and faith in victory to their people in the presence of their kings. One of the most important symbols of the Rwandan culture, this dance is only performed for entertainment purposes now. These these melodies that trickled down from generation to generation still come to life in the bodies of the dancers. Following the visual feast provided by the Ntore dancers, guides provide information to registered tourists.
In case we meet buffaloes, but ahead of us there is a tracking team who go track the gorillas. This helps us to know where we are going. We don't have a design tree that leads us to the group, so we keep in communication to them, then based on that to know which direction we have to take. So it's very hard for me for now to judge for how long this can take us.
There are issues to be taken into consideration when you climb up to the gorilla's habitat.
It's better if we stay together and be creating a distance between us and the gorillas. This distance keep on changing depending on the movement of the gorillas, but if possible, we could have a range like of 7 meters away from where the gorillas are. That means whenever the gorillas come closer to us, we'll be asked to move some steps backwards. This is to create a kind of zone where the gorilla feels so much comfortable with our presence, but it's another way we reduce the exchange of diseases either from us, the gorillas, or from them to us as well.
Throughout the challenging but fascinating climb, accompanied by splendid views, tourists also get the chance to take a glimpse of the varied fauna specific to the region. As the national park area ranges between 2,400 meters and 4,500 meters in altitude, there are very diverse zones of flora on the skirts of the mountain. The Virunga Massif is home to 878 plant species. From harsh and short bushes to broad-leaved plants, from the massive Hagenia tree to types of ivy. Some of the gorilla families are accessible to visiting tourists. A limited number of tourists are allowed to see the gorillas in order to preserve their natural habitat to the best extent possible. Only 8 visitors are allowed to climb to see these families per day, while some families can only be observed by researchers. Mountain gorillas, under the supervision of their leader, called the silverback, live in the bamboo-covered skirts of Mount Virunga. They are constantly on the move throughout the day to be able to feed. An adult gorilla eats some 30 kilograms of grass every day to maintain such a colossal build. The forest is full of thorny plants. But gorillas are extraordinarily gifted in peeling plants and reaching the juicy bits under the shell. Babies have a long road ahead. This youngster must watch his mommy more carefully. When they have finished eating, gorillas spend their time by having naps and chilling out. Tiny openings in the dense forest are ideal locations to sunbathe on a full stomach. While adults are deep in sleep, the little ones have no intention to take a siesta. The youngsters of the family spend most of their day playing martial games among themselves. On this territory, the last refuge for gorillas, the daily routine flows in the shadow of volcanoes. Soccer is highly popular in the country. It's one of the top interests for people of all ages. As is the case for the majority of the town, there are numerous caves carved by the volcanoes beneath this football field as well. Musanze Cave is one of such caves. The formation of this 2-kilometer deep cave dates back 65 million years. The cave, shaped by volcanic textures, also hosts a bat colony. Immediately next door to the Volcanoes National Park, on the skirts of Mount Virunga, start another critical asset for Rwanda: the agriculture fields. The soil, nurtured by the volcanic ash, is fertile beyond imagination. 1/3 of Rwanda's national income stems from agriculture. Some 80% of the population works in this area and makes a living out of agriculture. Rwanda is 90% self-sufficient in terms of its agricultural requirements, and 50% of its export revenues likewise come from agricultural products. The primary agricultural products of the region are potatoes and pyrethrum. The rich and nutritious volcanic soil of Rwanda ensure that the best pyrethrum of the world are cultivated here, making Rwanda one of the biggest producers globally at a market share of 15%. Dried pyrethrum is one of the most pervasive raw materials of agricultural pesticides around the world. The Mukungwa River that winds down among the agricultural fields of Musanze is usually tranquil. There are no hippos or crocodiles in this river. In the spare time left from climbing to the gorillas and discovering caverns, canoeing on the river is a favorite activity for tourists fond of adventure sports. The river, with its occasional drops, promises an exhilarating time for tourists. The east of Rwanda is more flat and arid compared to the rest of the country. That said, one of the biggest preserved wetlands of the Black Continent is located in this area. Akagera National Park. With its acacia-covered hills rolling one after another, vast plains expanding at the skirts of these hills, papyrus-coated marshes extending among these plains, and its lakes of various sizes, Akagera is a heaven of breathtaking views. A typical African savanna, Akagera is the biggest national park of Rwanda, with an expanse of 1,200 square kilometers. The boundaries of the park, located at the northeast of the country, are defined by the Akagera River, which it was named after, and neighboring Tanzania. The area, comprising mountains, savanna, and swamps, is under protection since 1934. Akagera River flows along the eastern border of the park and feeds many lakes and marshes in the area. These lakes and papyrus marshes, in return, provide a critical habitat for the survival of many rare species in the region. And here's one of the most populous among those species. Akagera hosts one of the biggest hippopotamus populations in the world. On the western end of the park in particular, you can come across vast numbers of hippos in the lakes and swamps connected to one another via canals. The favorite locales of the hippos are the ditchwater parts of the river and the barren openings of the swamps. Hippos are social animals, living in groups, but they detest intrusion and disturbance, and that's when they can become really aggressive. Akagera National Park has very different habitats from the rest of the country. Dense bushes and plains amidst mountains occupy most of the area. The plains are populated by zebras, the epitomic species of Africa, as well as various antelopes and buffaloes. However, the sovereign of Akagera is the African elephant, the biggest mammal species of the continent. These gentle giants are quite vulnerable and sensitive animals, despite their tons of weight and meters of height. Elephant herds live in the form of crowded families, where the eldest and wisest female is the leader, and members usually have blood ties with one another. Female elephants remain in the same family for almost all their lives. Elephants can live around 60 or 70 years. Mothers and daughters, in particular, have very intimate relations throughout their long lives. In the case of a threat, the babies are surrounded by the group and remain under close surveillance until the danger goes away. These giants spend some 12 to 18 hours of the day eating and devour some 100 kilograms of grass in the meantime. These massive but vulnerable animals of Akagera are under protection like many other species. This is because they have been murdered by humans for centuries just for their tusks, which only serve ornamental purposes. Numerous protection programs today strive to keep these precious animals alive and increase their population.
Nitwa Ntironkundiye Sylvestre, nkaba ndi umuyobozi wungirije ushinzwe ubusugire bwa parike y'igihugu y'Akagera. Muri parike y'igihugu y'Akagera dufitemo abagarde 69, ariko abari ku kazi ni abagarde 67, abandi babiri bagiye ku ishuri kwiga, bakaba bagabanyije ku maposte 9, harimo amaposte 2 ashinzwe gukora patrouille mu mazi, akana amaposte 6 ashinzwe gukora patrouille ku butaka, na poste ishinzwe gukora patrouille ikoresheje imbwa.
Hunting gear confiscated from poachers throughout decades, as well as the skulls and skeletons of hunted wild animals, are on display at the entrance of the National Park headquarters. Thanks to the success of recent nature conservation efforts in Rwanda, poaching has been prevented in Akagera by a considerable extent. Dogs trained for tracking traces, in particular, have contributed to diminishing crime rates to virtually nil.
Akagera National Park really completes the package for Rwanda. It's an East African savanna park, so combined with the Volcanoes National Park and the gorillas, the chimpanzees in Nyungwe, Akagera really completes the package. It's a park where you can see elephant, big game, elephant, giraffe, zebra, buffalo. We reintroduced lion in 2015 and they've successfully bred from 7 to 16 animals. We are looking at reintroducing black rhino in the next few months, so by the end of 2017 Akagera should be a Big 5 park.
Akagera is also home to numerous bird species owing to its broad meadows, acacia groves, and papyrus marshes. The variety of habitats in the park enable more than 500 bird species to live here. The diversity and multitude of savanna birds, water birds, and raptors in particular make the area one of the biggest bird paradises of Rwanda. Hosting many different species, Akagera is a gem for bird watchers. There are safe havens for birds to breed at the heart of the lakes in Akagera. As these spots are accessible by boat, unlike many places in Africa, bird watchers and enthusiasts find the chance to observe the birds and their nests at close range here. The African fish eagle is among the dominant species in the area. The wetlands, where an eagle perches on every other branch, contribute to the worth of Akagera, which hosts the big mammals of Africa and boosts its extraordinary diversity. Boat tours starting from the southeast of the lake allow visitors to see not only birds, but also hippos and crocodiles at close range. While splendid sunset vistas accompany nature lovers. As birds fly off to their nests to spend the night, visitors return to the campsites in Akagera, witnessing the magnificent views of the park. Rwanda, in literal terms, means a country that grows and develops. This territory, where the ancient legacy of independent spirit still reigns supreme, bears the traces of traditions dating back centuries. The young population of Rwanda, which has one of the highest population densities in the world, work tirelessly to build their future. The pure and benign spirit of this vivid and friendly nation is manifest in all the streets of the country. On this land, a world heritage, the nature and the human steadfastly hang on to life together. Life burgeons every day in this land of mist, where mountains, plains, forests, meadows, water, and soil all mingle together. The voice of Rwanda, the land of rare forms of life that owns up to its nature and its humans, is now growing louder. Calling on everyone to see this tiny but grand country for thrilling experiences and life-lasting memories.